We end the week, as we always do, with a suggestion made by my late father as I read to him in his hospital room last winter that I should read these same stories to you. The works of James Thurber, the 20th century writer, reporter, and singular illustrator and cartoonist, one of the Renaissance men of American humor. I read, as ever, from the Library of America, Thurber, Writings and Drawings, just reprinted largely because of these readings, edited by Garrison Keillor. Though this story was originally published in The Middle-Aged Man on the Flying Trapeze in 1935. The second half of this story, it is of Thurber's 8 years in the Sullivant School at Columbus, Ohio, particularly the 4th and 5th grades, where, as Thurber wrote, many pupils lodged there for years, like logs in a brook, where, if he is to be believed, one of them, the dean of the squad, was a tall, husky young man of 22 who was in the 5th grade. The teachers of the 3rd and 4th had got tired of having him around as the years rolled along and had pushed him on. His name was Dana Waney, and he had a mustache. Waney and a 4th grader named Floyd. Nobody knew whether Floyd was Floyd's first name or his last name. He apparently only had one. Starred on the Sullivant baseball squad, whose fans were sure our team could have beaten Ohio State University that year, but they wouldn't play us. They were scared. We rejoined Thurber in 1904 in the 4th grade in Columbus with his new friend Floyd in the conclusion of my father's favorite Thurber story, I Went to Sullivant, by James Thurber. I don't suppose I would have ever got through Sullivant School alive if it hadn't been for Floyd. For some reason, he appointed himself my protector, and I needed one. If Floyd was known to be on your side, nobody in the school would dare be after you and chase you home. I was one of the 10 or 15 male pupils in Sullivant School who always, or almost always, knew their lessons. And I believe Floyd admired the mental prowess of a youngster who knew how many continents there were and whether or not the sun was inhabited. Also, one time when it came my turn to read to the class, we used to take turns reading American history aloud, I came across the word Duquesne and knew how to pronounce it. That charmed Floyd, who had been slouched in his seat idly following the printed page of his worn and penciled textbook. How you know that was Duquesne, boy? He asked me after class. I don't know, I said. I just knew it. He looked at me with round eyes. Boy, that's something, he said. After that, word got around that Floyd would beat the tar out of anybody that messed around me. I wore glasses from the time I was 8, and I knew my lessons, and both of those things were considered pretty terrible at Sullivant. Floyd had one idiosyncrasy. In the early 1900s, long, warm, furry gloves that came almost down to your elbows were popular with boys, and Floyd had one of the biggest pairs in school. He wore them year-round. Dick Peterson was an even greater figure on the baseball team and in the school than Floyd was. He had a way in the classroom of blurting out a long, deep, rolling B-ah for no reason at all. Once he licked 3 boys his own size single-handed. Really single-handed, for he fought with his right hand and held a mandolin in his left hand all the time. It came out uninjured. Dick and Floyd never met in mortal combat, so nobody ever knew which one could beat, and the scholars were about evenly divided in their opinions. Many a fight started among them after school when that argument came up. I think school never let out at Sullivant without at least one fight starting up, and sometimes there were as many as 5 or 6, raging between the corner of Oak and 6th Streets and the corner of Rich and 4th Streets 4 blocks away. Now and again, virtually the whole school turned out to fight the Catholic boys of the Holy Cross Academy in 5th Street near town for no reason at all. In winter, with snowballs and ice balls. In other seasons, with fists, brickbats, and clubs. Dick Peterson always in the van, yelling, singing, B-eyeing, whirling all the way around when he swung with his right, or if he hadn't brought his mandolin, his left, and missed. He made himself the pitcher on the baseball team because he was the captain. He was the captain because everybody was afraid to challenge his self-election, except Floyd. But Floyd was too lazy to pitch, and he didn't care who was captain because he didn't fully comprehend what that meant. On one occasion, when Earl Baddock, a steamfitter's son, had shut out Mound Street School for 6 innings without a hit, Dick took him out of the pitcher's box and went in himself. He was hit hard and the other team scored, but it didn't make much difference because the margin of Sullivant's victory was so great. The team didn't lose a game for 5 years to another grammar school. When Dick Peterson was in the 6th grade, he got into a saloon brawl and was killed. When I go back to Columbus, I always walk past Sullivant School. I have never happened to get there when classes were letting out, so I don't know what the pupils are like now. I am sure there are no more Dick Petersons and no more Floyds. unless Floyd is still going to school there. The play yard is entirely still bare of grass and covered with gravel, and the sycamores still line the curb between the schoolhouse fence and the Oak Street car line. A streetcar line running past a schoolhouse is a dangerous thing as a rule, but I remember no one being injured while I was attending Sullivant. I do remember, however, one person who came very near being injured. He was a motorman on the Oak Street line, and once, when his car stopped at the corner of 6th to let off passengers, he yelled at Shooty Davidson, who played third base on the ball team and was a member of the terrible fourth, to get out of the way. Shooty was 14 years old, but huge for his age, and he was standing on the tracks, taking a chew of tobacco. "Come on down off of that car, and I'll knock your block off," said Shooty in what I can only describe as a Sullivant tone of voice. The motorman waited until Shooty moved slowly off the tracks. Then he went on about his business. I think it was lucky for him that he did. There were boys in those days. I went to Sullivant. That's countdown for June 28th. Except it's not June 28th, is it? It's June 28th? It said June 28th up here. It's July 16th, isn't it? My goodness, I thought I was having another seizure. Portions written by James Thurber. It's the 2,633rd day since President Bush declared mission accomplished in Iraq, the 2,222nd day since he declared victory in Afghanistan, and the 88th day of the Deepwater Horizon disaster in the Gulf. Next, Rachel's special report summarizing her trip to Afghanistan. I'm Keith Olbermann, taking a couple of weeks vacation off now, so we'll see you whatever 2 weeks from today is. Good night and good luck.